DeAndre Hopkins just signed with the Tennessee Titans, and the meme leading up to and certainly the moment the news broke is that, like many Hall of Fame receivers before him, he is simply going to Tennessee to die, to quietly retire and not be mentioned again until he is a Hall of Fame eligible player. That may be true, but I think Hopkins actually has a lot more left in the tank than his predecessors. This did get me thinking, though, about which teams are retirement homes, nay, graveyards for receivers, both as free agent acquisitions and as drafted talent. Today, I'll reveal which NFL teams receivers go to never really live. That's good sports. Hey, you have heard of Hot Girl Summer. Well, let me introduce you to Smooth Sack Summer. Today's episode is sponsored by manscaped.com/goodsports. So when I say smooth sack, yeah, I'm talking smooth ball sacks, nuts, scrotum, the family jewels, tea bags, wee bags, the devil's PhD, testy, stones, gonads, bean bags, the scrot. Okay, I made one of those up, but this little crop shaver, this guy right here, with its 3 precision blades, is the best ball shaver I have ever used. The lubricating strips on this thing are legit. I'll never go down in that area with anything else ever again. The crop shaving gel is clear so you can see what you're shaving, and that's pretty important in that sensitive area. So right now with my link, manscaped.com/goodsports, you can get 20% off plus free shipping when you get the Ultra Smooth package. It comes with the crop shaver, the crop gel exfoliator, and 5 replacement blades, plus the anti-chafing Boxers 2.0, which now come in multiple color options and 3 packs. Plus, the jewel pouch on the Boxers just makes your junk look more complete, if you know what I mean. Let's start with the aforementioned wide receiver serial-killing Tennessee Titans. Prior to the D-Hop signing, their career receiving touchdown leader was Mike Vrabel, who is their head coach, who played defense his entire career. Historically speaking, their all-time leading receivers are Derek Mason and Nate Washington. Now, Washington joined the Titans in 2009 after 4 years with the Steelers and had just one 1,000-yard season. Derek Mason is one of those forgotten studs in the NFL. He had 8 of 9 straight seasons with over 1,000 yards, and ultimately left Tennessee after the 2004 season to join the Ravens. Since then, though, the Titans have perennially boasted one of the least impressive receiving groups in the league and passing attacks in the league as well. Had DeAndre Hopkins not signed with them, outside of maybe the Texans, they would have had, without question, the least noteworthy group of ball catchers on earth. Treylon Burks, the rookie they drafted to replace A.J. Brown, had just 444 receiving yards in 2022. They had him paired with 4th-year receiver Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, whose best season was in 2021 with a whopping 476 yards and 4 TDs. Now, Hopkins is a great signing for Tennessee. They needed him, and I think Ryan Tannehill is smart enough to feed him the ball. Even though D-Hop going to the Titans sparked the idea for this episode, I believe with his incentive-laden contract, Tennessee's solid defense, and reliable run game, he will be the passing game. It will go through him, and his career will not die in Tennessee. But damn, think about all these other guys who purchased burial plots inside Nissan Stadium. Just last season, 2022, they killed Robert Woods, aka Bobby Trees, chopped down 2 touchdowns, 527 yards, and now he's a Texan. If Tennessee is the morgue, Houston is the crematorium. 2021, Julio Jones, after 771 yards in Atlanta, produced just 434 yards and 1 touchdown for the Titans. 2017, they drafted Corey Davis, 5th overall, never stood a chance. 2015, like Julio Jones before him, Harry Douglas left Atlanta to play in Tennessee, only to produce 2 touchdowns through 3 seasons.
Moss playing for his 3rd team this season and he makes his Titans debut.
Randy Moss, in 8 games for Tennessee in 2010, 6 receptions for 80 yards. 2016, Andre Johnson, in 8 games, another future Hall of Famer. Stop me if this sounds familiar, 9 receptions with just 85 yards. What makes Tennessee special is their ability to both draft and kill receivers and continue to sign aging receivers well past their prime and watch them flop, either because of age or injury or the combination of both. The thing that really hurts is knowing Tennessee was smart enough to draft A.J. Brown, but too stupid to not pay him and then also trade him away for nothing. In one season with the Eagles, Brown had 400 more yards than he did in his best season with the Titans. So Tennessee won't just help aging free agents out to pasture, they will clip the wings of rising stars. Tennessee's offense died when offensive coordinator Arthur Smith left for Atlanta. His replacement, Todd Downing, just like his name suggests, took down the Titans offense. They went from 4th in scoring in 2020 to 15th in his first season and 28th last year. A big reason he was fired. Also, his victory beer in Green Bay didn't help.
And you're being honest, you have not had any alcohol to drink?
Yes, sir. I had a victory beer in Green Bay.
A victory beer?
Moving on, the Broncos. Since 2015, the Denver Broncos have been in an offensive purgatory. And while no free agent receivers are eager to join Denver or even come here, they have become a prison for extremely talented ball catchers that they draft or cultivate. The Broncos are famously the murderers of Jerry Rice's career, a stat they don't get enough credit for in my eyes. Never forget, Jerry Rice retired because he wasn't going to make the Broncos' final roster in 2005 with Mike Shanahan as head coach. Now, Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Jerry Jeudy have all been limited by mediocre to bad offensive lines and bad quarterback play and horrible play calling. Although Sutton's 1,000 yards in 2019 with Joe Flacco, Brandon Allen, and Drew Lock has been the best season by a Broncos receiver since Demaryius Thomas had 1,300 yards in 2015. Holy shit, the fact that DT had 1,300 yards in that offense should put him in the Hall of Fame alone. Above all, it feels like Denver wide receivers have been cursed by injury. Jeudy, Sutton, Patrick, and Hamler just cannot stay on the field all at the same time, and it's limited Denver's ceiling on offense. Now, I mentioned Denver to highlight that receivers, regardless of age and talent, are really at the mercy of their quarterback and their coaching situation, on top of the normal obstacles to production, i.e. growing and developing in the NFL and, of course, injuries. The Cleveland Browns, the most recent and most famous murderer of a wide receiver's career, happened when the Browns traded for Odell Beckham in 2019. Beckham had just one season with over 1,000 yards and found the end zone just 7 times in 29 games as a Brown before immediately winning a Super Bowl and looking like the old OBJ in Los Angeles, where he then tore his ACL again. And quite honestly, OBJ tearing his ACL in the Super Bowl was probably just a prolonged side effect from playing for the Browns. 3 years earlier, the Browns stockpiled a bunch of draft picks and decided they were going to load up on wide receivers in 2016. They drafted Corey Coleman, Ricardo Lewis, Jordan Payton, and Rashard Higgins. 4 wideouts in the same draft. Ironically, the only one who made any sort of impact was Higgins, the last one they drafted. 2016 as a wide receiver draft was a huge bust in the first round, with Will Fuller, Josh Doxson, and Laquan Treadwell all going after the Browns made Coleman the first receiver selected that year. They could have had Michael Thomas, Tyler Boyd, and of course Tyreek Hill later in the draft if they were better at drafting. But the best wide receiver the Browns have shown insane potential before letting it slip away. I am primarily thinking about Josh Gordon, who set the Browns' single-season receiving yards mark in 2013, but Braylon Edwards also broke out with 16 touchdowns. Terrell Pryor switched positions, going from quarterback to receiver, had 1,000 yards in 2016, but no one has had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons since the Browns returned to Cleveland in 1999. The 09 Browns, in particular, were so awful at wide receiver, it's not a mystery why Brady Quinn didn't pan out. Braylon Edwards played just 4 games, and Mohamed Massaquoi led the team in yards with 624, while the next best receiver, Chauncey Stuckey, Yeah, Chauncey Stuckey had 198. I don't think a team could be that inept at throwing the ball if they tried. And I honestly thought that's what was going to happen to Amari Cooper when Dallas got fleeced by the Browns in that trade in the 2022 offseason. Instead, he had a career-best 9 receiving TDs while enduring one of the weirdest quarterback transitions in recent memory as the Browns waited out Deshaun Watson's 11-game suspension, with Jacoby Brissett keeping the team afloat. So, I leave Cleveland with optimism. Amari Cooper is good, and I think he will have better numbers this season, and I predict he will join the Titans to die in 2025 after his contract ends in Cleveland. Then we've got the Baltimore Ravens, who present an interesting quandary for wide receivers. If you come to Baltimore, you've got a great chance to win and play with a great quarterback. But if you come to Baltimore, you're also going to spend most of your time blocking your ass off and watching the majority of the balls go to Mark Andrews. Willie Snead's a great example, a guy who had 2 very, very good seasons in New Orleans, only to go to Baltimore to become a full-time blocker and part-time ball catcher. He never broke 700 receiving yards with the Ravens. Dez Bryant's career was technically already over, but he joined the Ravens roster just so they could officially murder his chances of ever playing again in the NFL. And this offseason, it felt like a bit of an anomaly when Odell Beckham signed with the Ravens. They aren't a wide receiver-friendly offense. At least they haven't been. Even the year where Lamar Jackson won MVP in 2019, his leading receiver was Hollywood Brown with a whopping 584 yards. However, they moved on from OC Greg Roman and will roll with Todd Monken this year. Maybe he gives Baltimore a diverse passing attack where not just one, but 2 ball catchers can put up real numbers. The Ravens currently have 5 first-round wide receivers on their roster, but none of them are exactly household names at this point, save for OBJ, who's coming off that knee injury that had him missing all of 2022. Then you've got Nelson Aguilar, Laquan Treadwell, who've disappointed. And there's a lot of hope for rookie Zay Flowers, but there was a lot of hope for rookie Rashad Bateman. And the reason the Ravens have had to spend so many first-rounders on wide receivers like Hollywood Brown, Bateman, and Flowers is because wide receivers know they'll turn into glorified offensive linemen if they sign in Baltimore, which is why guys like T.Y. Hilton and Juju Smith-Schuster outright refused to do it in 2021, despite the Ravens making the playoffs the previous 3 seasons. Then we've got the New York Giants. 2 words just about sums this up: Kenny Golladay. But before Golladay signed a 4-year, $72 million deal and caught 1 touchdown in New York, there'd been a longer period of whiteout sadness. The Giants haven't had a wide receiver cross the 1,000-yard threshold since they drafted Daniel Jones in 2019. To be more precise, they haven't had a wide receiver cross the 900-yard threshold since they drafted Dan Jones in 2019. To be even more precise, they haven't had a wideout cross the 800-yard mark since 2019. I guess I could have just went to 800. The last to do it was OBJ in 2018, moments before they traded him. Ultimately, that's the single 1,000-yard season for the Giants since the boat pick was taken in January of 2017. If that's not a curse, I don't know what the hell is. And here we go, maybe the most notorious murderer of receivers, the Chicago Bears.
Have you seen Muhammad? No, I said Muhsin Muhammad.
Famously said in 2008 that Chicago is where wide receivers go to die. And it's still hard to argue otherwise. The Bears traded for DJ Moore this offseason, and he's making the same move, Carolina to Chicago, that Muhammad made back in 2006. Please let it end differently for DJ. The Bears went a full decade without a 1,000-yard receiver. Marty Booker had close to 1,200 yards in 2002. 10 years came and went, and then Brandon Marshall put up back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons in 2012 and 2013 before Alshon Jeffrey, Allen Robinson, and Darnell Mooney joined the club. Chicago has taken some big swings at wideout, and not many of them have paid off. Ellis Jones, Riley Ridley, Anthony Miller, Kevin White, none of those guys have panned out yet. It's fair to wonder if Chicago itself is a wide receiver graveyard, or if their historic lack of talent at the QB position creates that perception. The heyday for passing in Chicago came during Jay Cutler's tenure, when Brandon Marshall and Alshon Jeffrey both posted 1,000-yard seasons. But before they traded for Marshall, I just want to name some of the guys Cutler was throwing to on the outside: Devin Hester, Earl Bennett, Johnny Knox, Dane Sanzenbacher, 30-year-old Roy Williams, drug kingpin Sam Hurd, and Devin Ramashadu.
6th round, TJ Hoshimazode. Yes, lock it up.
Who?
What? TJ House Vanilla.
I rest my case. I rest it. Justin Fields. He can make plays with his legs, and he's made some head-turning throws from time to time to go with that. Consistency in the passing game is what he needs to prove next, and luckily for him, we thought Chase Claypool's career had already died before the Bears traded for him. But Justin Fields can finally turn this narrative around for the Bears. Thanks for watching That's Good Sports Wide Receiver Graveyard Edition. Please subscribe here on YouTube for more stupid football videos. And some good ones too, okay? I do it every one nice. Ugh.